Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2025 BMW X7. This is the M60i. Huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Northlake for providing this SUV for me today. Definitely take a look at their website. That link is down in the description. So this M60i is finished off in black sapphire metallic. MSRP is just shy of $120,000. And underneath the hood, this is powered by the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. That's paired to the 8-speed automatic transmission, pumping out 523 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. That power sent through the xDrive all-wheel drive system, propelling this 5,900-pound SUV from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It has a top speed of 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 21.9 gallons. You'll expect to see around 16 miles per gallon in the city, 21 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 122.2 inches. Its overall length is 203.6. It has a width of 78.7 and a height of 72.2 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this X7 M60i, this has a lot of options added onto it. It has the M Sport Pro package as well as the driving assistance, the climate package too. So we have a lot of goodies for this particular model. Now for the exterior, you will notice that for the kidney grille, it's finished off in matte black for the entire surround, with everything else gloss black. There's even active grille shutters that will open to provide additional cooling. There's a forward-facing camera along with all these sensors, even the sensor in the lower section for that adaptive cruise control. And it has the split design for the headlight housings, high beams, as well as the turn signals and the DRLs. So that is fairly new from BMW. I think it gives it a really nice look. And then there's very large inlets in the lower section surrounding that sensor and some nice lines that come down the hood. Now, as we work our way to the side, we have a very large set of 22-inch wheels finished off in gloss black. There's the M Sport brake calipers too. This does have power folding side mirrors with the turn signal and the camera there. And then full moonroof up top with more gloss black for the roof racks. It's surrounding all of the window trim as well as some accents in the lower section there. And then being the X7, this is a 3-row SUV, so it is stretched to accommodate for those extra passengers, but there's very nice lines that run down the side to give it a great and proportional look. And then in back, there's the body colored spoiler along with the third brake light, wiper blade in the lower section there. This has a set of LED taillights. There's also the backup camera with all the sensors, quad tip dual exhaust in that lower bumper. And if you opt for the hitch, this can tow right around 7,500 pounds. So not only do you have a practical 3-row SUV, but it's also capable when you opt for the hitch. And then you can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath to open up the split tailgate. So for the X5 and the X7, you can open up the top one, and then you can also open the lower one individually. Now the button on that right side is for the adaptive suspension. So you can actually lower the rear end of this vehicle if you need a lower load height, or you want to sit on this and you want it just a little bit lower. You can push on that button and it will lower the whole rear end. Now as far as cargo space goes, with the third row up, it's honestly not all that bad. You can still fit some items in the back here, as well as underneath the floor. We have the cover in there at the moment, and then you have a lot of space for additional items. So you can still fit in the items that you need. Now with this X7, all of these seats are automatic. So over on this driver's side, there's a max person and a max storage. So if you push on max person, this is the configuration that you get. If you push on max storage, it will fold down the third row and of course move that second row forward. But if you want to just do them individually, you can push on these buttons. You do have to hold them, and then you can slowly lower that third row. And just by doing the one, you'll notice you have a lot of storage if you need that down for whatever reason. And then you can also push that second row forwards by using the additional control. Now the second row will not fold all the way flat, so they just move forwards, allowing you to put in some items just depending on what you need to. So they're all automatic, which is nice, and you definitely have plenty of space. Now in order to close both lift gates, you can push the one in the lower section. However, you can just do the one push and that will close both of them. So it makes it very convenient. Even though it is separated, you can actually do some key fob settings in order to open both of them at the same time. What you can also do is remote start this from the key fob too. Triple tap on that 3 times and you can start this up and shut it off if you need to. Now as we work our way into the back seating area, For this model, this has the automatic sunshade. There's also the two-tone for the leather, interior lighting, there's wood trim. You have all the adjustments for not only this window on this side, but several sunshade adjustments. There's brushed aluminum accents, and then storage in that lower section. And then here's the second row with a very nice design to them. These are captain's chairs, of course, and they are automatic. So all those controls are down on the side. But let's work our way into that third row. Now you'll notice that the driver's seat is actually moving. Then the middle seat will move forwards. And then from there, I can gain access into the third row, where there's only 2 seats back here. But honestly, there's a good bit of space, especially for my legs. You can also adjust these seats with the automatic adjustments there. So you don't only have to do that from the rear cargo space. But we have a cup holder, armrest, ambient lighting, and then at 5'10", I actually have an inch or so above my head. So honestly, I could ride around and be comfortable because these are also heated seats, and we have the third row climate adjustments. So I can get very comfortable with the air vents back here, and I have plenty of windows to be able to look out. So it's actually not all that bad for full-size adults like myself. And then from there, lock that seat into place. It will start to move backwards, and then the driver's seat will also work its way to where it was. Now in the second row, you also have this attachment here. So you can place tablets, you can charge them. There's storage, and then there's air vents in the middle, heated seats, all the climates, and then you have some more storage, auxiliaries, and cup holders. And then a lot more headroom for this seat, even with it all the way up. And of course you can recline back just to be a little bit more comfortable. You could also gain access through the middle. It's going to be a little bit tight there, so it's probably better to do the way that I did, but you have access to go through if you need to. And we have the full Alcantara headliner with the moonroof there too. Now as we take a look at the front seats, the door panel is just like the rear. However, we have massaging seats up front. L2 is how you can actually use the controls on the driver's seat to further adjust the passenger seat, which is nice. You can also do that with some rear seats too. There's memory seating, all of your window adjustments, liftgate release, and then even additional storage. Now M60i is also an illuminating badge, and then front seats are of course just like the rear. Now as we start this up, we have some crystal options. So that's on the engine start stop, the shifter, and the rotary dial there. But let's take a listen to this M60i. And looking at the digital gauge cluster, on the left side, there's miles per hour as well as your fuel level. Right side, there's also the tach, and you have some fixed information in the lower section there that you can always view. Now, if you come to this button over on the right side of the steering wheel, where there's also volume and tuning and then voice commands, this allows you to go through all of the content. So you can scroll through all of this, just depending on what you would like to see. This even has the augmented reality system. So you can pull that up for the forward-facing camera. Might be a little bit more beneficial at nighttime, but it still gives you an additional view. You have your G-force meter as well as some music. And then you can also go to the layout. So you can change that depending on what you would like to see. And for the last one, this has a head-up display. So you can go through 4 different settings depending on if you would like to see a reduced view, if you want to pull up sport view with a tach, or you want your driver assistance to be visible. So it's really nice to be able to go through all of that. This also has paddle shifters, cruise control, and adaptive cruise on the left side. Full leather steering wheel, the M steering wheel of course, which is nice. And then on this left side, there's a little bit of storage with the headlight adjustments, 1 air vent. And then as we work our way to the infotainment system, you have a lot more that you can go through. So if we exit out of this and go to home, you have the split screen with the navigation currently on one side, and then this info that you can view over on the left side. Now if I click on home, this is home of course, but we also have the 4 dials next to that, where you can get into Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you have your climates. You can go through a lot going through all of that information. There's also a shortcut to your phone, as well as the climate adjustments, so you can quickly go through all of this, and you can even get into the heated and ventilated seats, as well as the heated steering wheel with those temperature dials on both sides. There's also your navigation and then your music too that you can quickly get into. Now there's some wood trim accents underneath that. M is also an illuminating badge going all the way over to this side here. There's 2 air vents in the middle. You have power and volume as well as tuning, and then wireless charging tucked away in the back side with your heated and cooled cup holders, a few auxiliaries, and then you can hide that away as needed. You also have shortcuts for that infotainment system, so you don't have to use it as a touchscreen system when you use all of those, as well as that rotary dial. And then on this left side, there's traction control, parking sensors. And then if we push that forward, that is for reverse, where you have the 360 camera system. This even has parallel parking, which can aid you in that, of course. And you have multiple different views depending on what you would like to see. Now, drive is all the way to the back, and if you do that one more time, you go into sport mode, allowing you to use those paddle shifters. Park is also located just behind that. Now, there's a few different drive modes depending on how you would like to drive this. So sport mode will turn red. It will also illuminate red for that M logo there. You have Comfort, Eco Pro. There's also a downhill assist, auto hold, e-brake, and then this is how you can adjust the height of the vehicle too. So you can use that as needed. There's plenty of space in the center console there with that split design, and then a lot more space in the glove box. Now there's garage door buttons up top, as well as your dome lights, and then the controls for that sunroof and sunshade. And here's a look at visibility. It's a long vehicle, but it is still easy to see over both shoulders. As we set up now behind the wheel for this six-figure BMW, the X7 is the biggest SUV that you can get from BMW, and this is also the most powerful, being the M60i trim level. So I have it in sport mode, and we will put it into sport mode again for the paddle shifters. Let's give this some gas. And it sounds pretty good. There's a few pops in that exhaust. It's not crazy loud, so I do wish that it was louder, being the M60, but it has a nice healthy tone to it. From that twin turbo V8, you think it would be louder, but I'm sure an aftermarket exhaust could really open this up. As far as turns go, you know, this is almost 6,000 pounds, but it handled that well. And that's what I love about BMW. Even in their SUVs, they can bring some of those handling and performance characteristics. It's not going to be like an M4, of course, but it definitely rides very nice. It handles its weight well. And if you're looking for something that still has those characteristics, but you need 3 rows, this is a great option to go with. Now, with that $121,000 price tag, there are options on this one that bring it up from about $101,000. They start, I believe, in the high 90s. And you can get them for maybe in the mid 80s for a lower trim level. So there's a big spread just depending on what you want. And we have a pretty much fully loaded M60i. So it drives that price tag up. For that price though, I think this is a really good option to go with. When you compare it to even a Cadillac Escalade, which is a 3-row, might be a little bit bigger for that 3rd row or the space behind it, but you're not going to have the same performance. Same with some of the other 3-row SUVs. I think the BMW is going to be the most performance oriented. So it just depends on your needs, what you're looking to get. I do like the X7. The X5 and the X7 are 2 of my favorite SUVs, and I get to drive them a good bit, but I've driven everything else, of course. So I can easily compare it to some of the others, and they all have positives and negatives. Negatives for this X7 though, I don't really see any. The one thing that I will say is that with the electronic seats in the back, I'm a huge fan of manual adjusting seats just because you can do them in a second and you're done. The electronic is cool for this price tag, for this luxury style vehicle. That's what you would expect. I kind of wish there was an option to go manual, just for my personal taste. That's the one thing that is I'm a little nitpicky on, is the function of how they work with that electronics. But other than that, I really like it. I do wish it was louder though. I think that's the only other thing. But as far as driving it with that adaptive suspension, it's so smooth, it's so comfortable, it's well refined, as you would expect a BMW to be. This could absolutely be your daily driver. You have massaging seats to go through. You have a really nice, comfortable, and quiet interior ride. And from second gear, here we go. Hopefully you can hear that exhaust. Again, not crazy loud, but it has a good tone to it. Now for the driving experience for this 24 X7, like I've already covered, it is so nice to drive. It's so comfortable. I love the support of these seats. You can get them in a good spot. We also have a lot of controls to go through, but it's not complicated. It's very easy to use the info that is available, and that's another thing that I like with these BMWs. You have what looks to be a fancy screen without all that extra fancy info that you don't necessarily want. For me, I like the look of it and I like the simplicity, but you still get some good information that you can easily go through. So it's a good blend of everything. And for 120 grand, this is what you would expect. We have all of the bells and whistles for this sporty SUV. And as far as turning radius goes, it's a big vehicle. So, you know, parking lot situations, things like that, we dipped a little bit there. It's not all that bad. It's a little bit shorter than some other full-size 3 rows. I think just with that space that's behind the 3rd row. So it is a little bit smaller, not significantly, but it feels like it has a smaller footprint. It's not very large from the driver's seat, so I can see the back end of it very well through all my mirrors and everything. I will say, I think maybe one other downside to this is that there's no digital camera in the rear view. A lot of vehicles are coming with that. A lot of vehicles that are even half the price of this are coming with that too. So maybe BMW can incorporate that into its mirror at some point. I think it's just a trend that's slowly trickling into different manufacturers and things like that. And I've been in sport mode the entire time. If we go into eco now, this is basically just going to modulate the throttle response a little bit more. So that way you can save a little bit on some gas possibly, but it will change the ride a little bit with that adaptive suspension, which you can raise and lower again, which is nice to see. That really makes this vehicle be enjoyable to ride. And the space in it is great too. You can have this packed full of people or full of storage. And you really have a good all-around blend for this performance SUV. So I think that is going to wrap it up for the 2024 BMW X7 M60i. Once again, a huge shout out to Hendrick BMW Northlake. Check out their website. Give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And make sure you smash that subscribe button so you guys can stay tuned with our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.